There's a light in the sky, rising in the air. There's a feeling so strong. It's time to light the fire, like a bright shining light. Learn, getting more out of life. Love, sharing time with friends, feeling so strong.
Hello and welcome to the House of Wellness. I'm Luke Darcy and I'm here with my co-host and superb mum, Jo Stanley. Can I start by saying Happy Mother's Day to you and to all the mums out there?
Thanks, Darcy, and Happy Mother's Day to my mum too. It's a Mother's Day with a difference, that's for sure. And we're really earning it these days. You know, we're diplomats negotiating home peace treaties, we're entertainers, we're cooks, we're cleaners and substitute teachers as well. We've got a lot going on, Darcy.
Yeah, absolutely. A big shout out to my mum, Janet, who is an absolute saint, raising 4 kids and giving us every opportunity you could hope for in life. Hey, what's the new normal Mother's Day look like for you, Jo?
I'm going to deliver a little care package to my mum because she's on her own and over 75. So I think our seniors are going to feel it a bit this year, and then we'll go home and we'll Zoom her, I think, as a family.
Beautifully done. Great idea, great creative solution to that. If you can't spoil your mum in person, there's always online, as Jo just mentioned. And one high-tech option is signing up for Netflix Party, which is a free Google app that allows you and your mum to watch a show or a movie together from a distance. I like that one.
Oh, I love that. It's a great idea. And, of course, you can organise a family dinner party or a high tea, because mums love cake. Do it on Skype or Zoom, and it's just like you're in the same room. Or better yet, you can go old school by writing your mum a handwritten letter telling her all the reasons that you love her.
Well, during my time playing AFL football, Jo, I have to say my mum was my biggest supporter, never played a bad game in her eyes. And I think the older I get, the more I appreciate my mum, the amount of love and support I got and continue to get. You can never repay. But as a kid, all I wanted to do was play football, and she was just there every step of the way.
Well, while the AFL might be on hold for now, some of the league's biggest stars are using the break and Mother's Day to celebrate the women who help them shine on and off the field.
Yeah, no, Mum's a champion. Obviously, we grew up on the farm with 3 boys. I usually say 4 because the old man's a big kid, so she's a very caring person and does whatever she can to help others.
I learned from a young age that no matter how fast I ran to get away from her when I'd done something wrong, she could always catch me. And if she didn't, it was only because she didn't want to. But yeah, I figured sometimes she's like, oh, you can sprint off and I can have a break. Now being a parent, that makes sense.
Mum raised 6 boys, which wasn't an easy task, I can imagine, growing up, particularly at times. Mum did everything for us when we were growing up, you know, ran us to so many sporting events, and I've got so much to thank my mum for.
People say I'm very close to my mum and I'm taken after her and we're very similar, and I'd say they're correct because she's a beautiful woman. She followed me around actually. She was the canteen lady at our primary school for 7 years, and she fed me basically breakfast, lunch and dinner, which I mean most kids are expected to get throughout their childhood, but she was actually there for all 3 meals throughout the day, and she actually fired me when I was 14 or 15 because I didn't rock up to work one Sunday morning, so she fired me. So she was the first person to fire me in the industry, but she's got me wanting more. Maybe it was a tactic.
It's hard to say she's the best mum in the world about my mum and my wife because, you know, you can't really favour it either. So they are equally the best mums in the world. I think my mum taught me to reverse park when I was on my L's. Yeah, it's a real dad thing to do, but no, that was mum.
Mum, she's done it pretty tough, so I've learned a lot from her in terms of my character. To be honest, she used to tell me I was never going to make it because of how lazy I was, so it drove me to not be as lazy. I could get away with it. She was working 3 jobs when I was a kid, so I could just miss school, I could miss footy training. Her being stern and not taking the foot off the pedal definitely helped.
Mum's awesome. Obviously, she's been such a big support for me, and we have such a funny relationship. Probably get my competitive side from her. Whenever we go back home, there's always these Connect 4 championships that we have, and nearly goes to throwing fists at the end, and then we won't speak to each other for a couple of days. So, but no, I love her. She's the best.
I mean, everyone loves their mum, and there's good reason for it too. I mean, the amount of care and what they do for you growing up is truly enormous, and what she still does for us today. So. I love my mum, appreciate everything she's done.
Yeah, just say Happy Mother's Day, Mum, love you, and thanks for everything you've done for us.
Well, I love that, Joe. Great to see the boys paying tribute to their mum today on Mother's Day.
Yeah, so beautiful. Really moving, I reckon.
Well, after the break, we chat to the woman who helped steer the Richmond Tigers in the AFL to 2 premierships and is helping her own son move mountains in the face of some serious adversity. Stick around. That's next on the House of Wellness. Welcome back to the House of Wellness. Before the break, some of the biggest stars of the AFL paid tribute to their mum for Mother's Day, Joe, which we loved. And there can be no doubt just how much women have given to the league in terms of support and in being role models for lacing up the boots themselves in the AFLW.
A few weeks back, I got to chat with one of the off-field stars of the AFL, mindfulness coach Emma Murray. She absolutely epitomises strength, courage and living in the moment.
Yeah, I got to know Emma through her work with the Richmond Football Club. She's an incredible lady and has had a massive impact on so many people. She helped steer them to 2 premierships, Joe, and as I said, she's made an impact on a lot of people, including you.
Oh, Das, Emma is such an inspiration to me as she helps people be the best versions of themselves. But what's even more remarkable, she'd been a mindfulness coach for about 20 years, but fully came to understand how powerful mindfulness is in helping you face adversity when her son, Will, became a quadriplegic after a diving accident. Emma's been living a new family normal for 4 years, but now she's up against a whole new range of challenges in the face of coronavirus. Her advice is invaluable to all of us. You have a son who has a chronic health condition. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we have a 18-year-old son who's doing year 12, and Will has a spinal cord injury. And so his lungs, due to his paralysis, do not work at the same level of function as, you know, yours and mine. And look, we don't know what the coronavirus would look like for him. You know, we don't have past cases to look at. But we would anticipate that if it went to his lungs, then, and because it's a respiratory flu, that he would really battle with that.
How are you managing his risks, firstly, and how is that actually impacting on the whole family?
So we've been really vigilant in right now, what can we do? We can put measures in place to reduce the number of carers that are rotating through his day. We can put measures in place to set up an at-home gym so he can still exercise because, you know, whilst the coronavirus is really dangerous to him, also not doing any rehab is really dangerous to him. So we tried to stay a step ahead of that, and really when we saw what was happening in Italy, we really got into action and started setting those things up.
What does it feel like for you, though, knowing that you can't go and see your son?
Well, we have virtual, chats like everyone else, and every time I see him, I remind myself he's safe, he's well, he's doing his schoolwork, he's still moving his body. So, you know, right here, right now, all is good. And, you know, Joe, I feel like a lot of us are becoming so focused on this fact that we're cut off from seeing people as regularly as we did, and that it's becoming a major stress for them. Where the reality is if I went on a hike in India for 3 weeks, I'm not going to see Will. And, you know, that's not such a terrible thing for him or for me. It doesn't have to be bad, but it's like we're getting this anxiety because we can't and we don't know how long it's going to be, that we're desperately filling our lives with ridiculous amounts of virtual drink nights and, you know, virtual parties. And it's like we're missing nature's gift right now to be still, to be present, for Will to have some time to look inside of him, for us to have some time to look inside of us, to listen. What are my ideas? What do I want to do? How do I want it to look differently after this? But we're taking that busyness that we had pre-coronavirus and we're just replacing it in this virtual world.
They're a remarkable family, the Murray family, and young Will prior to his accident, Joe was probably the best junior football player in Australia. He was a superstar, and to see the way that family, Emma, her husband Nick, and the rest of the family have rallied around Will is one of the most inspiring stories. And I hear some great news that you and Emma are teaming up in a podcast I cannot wait to hear.
Yes, I am so excited that we're creating this podcast to help all of us be the best versions of ourselves. And that podcast is going to be released by the end of this month.
Well, the coronavirus has put our healthcare workers under the spotlight like never before, and it's also turned the nation's attention to the elderly. Around 4 million Aussies are aged 65 and over, and that figure is on the rise.
But forget any tired, cliched images of Nana knitting scarves and booties or Pops hobbling around the work shed. Today's seniors are fitter, more active, tech-savvy and adventurous than ever before.
That's true, Joe, and none more so than world champion bodybuilder Janice Lorraine. The 77-year-old is putting her considerable muscle into smashing stereotypes and outdated thinking about what's possible in your sunset years.
So many women have felt that they just cannot be strong, excited about themselves, be adventurous, do the things that they'd always wanted to do and be strong. And so I thought, blow, this is what I'm going to do.
Janice has an exercise regime that would put many women half her age to shame. 3 hours in the gym, 3 days a week. And when she's not in the gym, you'll find her clocking up 8-kilometre walks and exercising at home.
So many people don't know what's possible, and because they don't know what's possible, they slip into negativity and weakness and sickness. And I just want to keep going. That keeps me going because I guess I just want to be the best I can and show other people that they can have a better life than they now have.
74, ladies and gentlemen.
Janice has competed against younger women all over Australia and internationally and come away with 12 world titles. But her passion isn't just being the fittest 77-year-old on the planet.
How are you, David?
Good, Janice. How are you?
Feeling a bit better than what you were?
Yeah, I think I'm getting stronger each time I come to the gym.
Sure as hell look that way.
Janice has started what she calls her gym family, a social group for older people that's not just about keeping the body fit, but the mind as well.
It really helps. It helps us all because we are nearly all retired, and apart from the exercise, it gives us the social contact.
I think it's marvellous. Many of us probably would have dropped out, except for Janice and her enthusiasm. And anyone who dies, she's at the funeral.
Jen, do you think you might choose?
Either the rowing machine or what?
Yes, the rowing machine. Wonderful.
As a shining example of what ageing can be, Janice has given many of her cohorts a whole new lease of life.
People come, they feel valued, they feel part of something. Even when people get cancer and things like that, as some people at my gym have done, you know, they go and we all know and think about them in hospital, go visit them. And, you know, they come back and, how are you again? This is wonderful, you're back, and you see them get stronger and stronger. It's better than money. It's better than any treasure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, Joe, that story reminds me of one of my favourite ever people, Tommy Hafer, you would know, the legendary 4 times AFL Premiership coach at the Tigers in the 70s and Collingwood coach after that, one of the fittest people that I'd ever met in my life. When he was 84, he could do things that 30-year-olds could only dream of doing. As an inspiration. Age is no barrier, Joe.
Unbelievable. Well, not all of us can be that fit at that age, but class and looking good at any age really does come from confidence and a great outlook on life, I think, Darcy.
Yeah, well said. Sure does, Joe. Up next, we look at the potentially life-saving invention for coronavirus patients and healthcare workers made right here in Melbourne. Back after this.
Welcome back. There's no doubt Aussies have come up with some ripper inventions that have changed life as we know it. There's the black box flight recorder, Wi-Fi, the electric drill, even Google Maps all began here.
Google Maps here in Australia.
Did you not know that?
I did not know that. Our researchers and scientists are world-class, Joe, and that's especially true in the field of medicine. Spray-on skin for burns victims, that's brilliant. Cochlear ear plants, penicillin, and even some cancer vaccines were all developed here as well.
Well, now a Melbourne intensive care physician has invented a device to help fight COVID-19. It's a transparent plastic hood that helps safeguard medics and patients. I spoke to the man behind these groundbreaking health masks, Dr. Forbes McGain. Can you explain to us exactly what is this hood that you have devised that goes around a COVID-19 patient?
So essentially it's a piece of plastic with a metal frame and a fan at the back that's designed to be, in a sense, like pressure to make the nurse and the bedside attendant to the patient safer in this world of COVID-19 at the moment. It's also designed to protect the patient indirectly by allowing oxygen therapies such as non-invasive pressure and high-flow oxygen to be delivered in a much more safe fashion for the patient rather than requiring the need of mechanical ventilation.
So who came up with this amazing idea?
It was really a combination of my ideas going to the mechanical engineering group here at Melbourne University. So it was, I suppose, just sort of a bit of lateral thinking, really, on my part, and then on the part of Jason Monty from Melbourne Uni, as well as Jim Patel, who's another engineer separate to the university.
Can you describe for us the current situation? What is the need for this?
The need really stems from the fact that we don't, in most hospitals, have many negative pressure rooms that will isolate, in a sense, the infectious patient. There are also, as you know, lots of personal protective equipment, so PPE that nurses and doctors, etc., wear, surgical masks, N95 masks, gowns and gloves, for example. This hood is designed to make that process safer.
So with this hood, it covers the patient, obviously protecting the carer from the patient, but also where does the air go inside the hood?
So what the hood does, in addition to having that physical barrier, is there is a fan at the back of it, and that is sucking and drawing air from under, the patient's sort of legs, sort of area on the bed or just to the sides, and it's drawing that air up behind them and away from the nurse. So it's not a completely sealed or closed environment. That wasn't our idea at all, but it's designed to dramatically reduce the risk of any infection being spread to the nurse.
And so what is the cost of manufacturing one of these hoods?
I think it will be probably in the order of $3,000. Why is it that much? I think part of it is because it requires manufacture of an entirely new device. So it's not cheap, but at the same time, it's not an extravagant cost compared to, I can assure you, compared to a ventilator or anything else, which is several orders of, which is like an average ventilator might be, say, $50,000, $60,000 as an example.
And so what are the next steps to get this into our hospitals?
Yeah, so the next steps are that we need to submit and have ethical approval to do this study at Western Health on real patients over the next fortnight or so. That will start, it will take, let's say, a month to do, so then we're looking at 6 weeks ahead, and perhaps longer. And then you can think about, okay, how do we upscale this to other hospitals, initially just in Melbourne probably because of further expansion of the trial. And then you look at, okay, mass manufacture, or at least large-scale manufacture of hundreds of these per week. But that's, if we're in, that would be probably like July, for example.
Hey, what a great story that one is, and the principle makes a lot of sense as well, Joe. Let's hope these hoods can be rolled out very, very soon.
Well, while Dr. McGain and his team have been getting creative, lots of mums and dads have had to as well, with their kids being home all the time. And I tell you, it does. My Willow, she's a keen artist, so what I've done to keep her occupied, every time she talks about anything, I go, draw it. Go and draw it. Go and take a long time to draw that. That's what I'm saying. But one of the best things, I'm told, because I'm not that great in the kitchen, is cooking. Two people we know who love spending time in the kitchen are Heinzie and GQ, together usually, and this time they've got a healthy breakfast dish or daytime snack that they tell me is child's play to make.
Now, GQ, to help stop the spread of infection, we're following the social distancing guidelines, so unfortunately you can't be cooking in the kitchen with me today. But I don't know about you, with all of this spare time that I've got at home, I am snacking way more. So I thought I'd whip up my healthy maple granola, so at least my snacking is nutritious.
And delicious as well, Heinzie. And that's very important. I'm finding that I'm snacking more at home as well. So what foods do you recommend I might look at?
Well, the first thing you want to think about, GQ, is avoiding processed and refined foods and celebrate nutrient density. I like complex carbohydrates, healthy fats and well-sourced protein. Now, speaking of which, there's heaps of nuts and seeds in my granola. Now, they're a fantastic source of protein, healthy fats, iron, magnesium, zinc, vitamin A, vitamin E, the whole thing's in there.
Well, I go nuts about nuts, Heinzie, particularly when you consider that they are a great source of the mighty mineral magnesium. Did you know magnesium is the 4th most abundant mineral in our body?
I love your facts, GQ. I didn't know that. We talk a lot about magnesium being fantastic for healthy muscle and nerve function.
And did you know, Heinzie, magnesium can also help you get a better night's sleep?
Mate, I could do with some of that right now. Tell me more.
Well, not only does magnesium relax our physical body by helping muscles just relax after a hard day's work, but it also helps our mental stress. It helps settle our excess nervous tension, helps any pent-up nervous energy we've got, and that also helps us get a better night's sleep.
I got to say, GQ, my granola is looking perfect. Who else is magnesium good for?
It looks sensational, Heinzie. Magnesium is suitable for everybody. The important thing is to get sufficient magnesium either from food or from a supplement. But you've got to make sure that you get advice from your qualified health practitioner to get the best results.
Well, GQ, if magnesium is the mineral for everyone, then this granola is the snack for everyone. Unfortunately, there is no technology that allows you to taste this through the screen, so I might just have to eat it all to myself.
I'm logging off, Heinzie, and heading to the kitchen straight away.
The A to Z of Vitamins is brought to you by Bioceuticals, your choice for high-quality, practitioner-only therapeutic supplements from a proudly Australian company.
You're watching The House of Wellness. One of the biggest debates and stresses for parents right now is how to steer their kids through social distancing, associated fears and school closures, Jo.
Oh, it's hard enough for us adults to get our heads around it and to stay calm and positive. And we absolutely want to protect our kids both from the virus and from any short-term or long-term anxieties.
Now, Dr Michael Gross is a former teacher and one of Australia's leading parenting authors. He's written 12 books, including the best-selling Spoon-Fed Generation. I caught up with him on Zoom and started by asking him how to best tackle homeschooling.
I think some of the sort of strategies we need to put into place is start zoning your house. So looking at little zones around your house. Already a lot of people are working from home, which is terrific. So there's a little work zone. You know, you've got to have a noisy corner and a chill out couch and a creative corner. So that's a strategy which we get from Nordic countries. The Nordic countries are used to spending a lot of time, you know, in the cold dark and on their own. I think it's really important that we establish a schedule. When kids are anxious or when we're anxious, what we look for is control. And the issue around schedules is the fact that there's a regular routine. When we've got a regular routine, we feel like you're more in control. And I think it's also another thing you can do as parents is meet at the start of the day with kids and go, okay, what's happening? What are we going to be doing today? And sort of go through that sort of day so that they can feel, again, that they're in control and there's some normality there.
There is opportunity in this time too if we get our heads in that mode. Are you seeing some of that?
Yeah, I am. I think in some ways this has been coming for a while. So we've had this crazy busyness now, and now we're not used to almost unwinding it. And we in Australia find it difficult as well because in our DNAs from our own parents is go outside and play. Now we're almost saying the opposite to kids, which is really difficult. We will develop new patterns of behaviour. So you might get some resistance, but after a while, kids will develop new ways of behaving. And a simple little example of that, I've got a granddaughter who's not all that great at keeping herself occupied. After being in self-isolation with her parents for a while, she is terrific at keeping herself occupied. Now, it took a while to get to that, 2 or 3 days now. She's got to do that. And so that's what we can do as parents. So some of the things I think we need to be doing, we're looking at an opportunity is connecting with the kids if you're not quite used to that. So take your time, connect with each child on an individual level. Also do some family things as well. So there's the opportunity to do some family things. And it's not just about keeping kids occupied, because if we're always looking about keeping kids occupied, that's going to be hard work. But it's bigger projects. It's teach your kids to cook, learn a language, do something which is quite significant as a family or individually with kids, because we just can't keep ourselves amused all the time. And this is a learning which we've got from Nordic countries, from Sweden, that hobbies are huge in Nordic countries, not as a way of, we tend to get our kids into extracurricular activities because, they might be good sports people or, it's good for them in that way. They tend to keep their kids involved in very creative activities because when they're locked down, that's what they go into. And that's a mindset thing. I'm working with a guy at the moment who says, I can't do that. That's not me. And I feel like saying that might be the old you, but yes, you can let your hair down, play with your kids and have some fun. So again, we've got to, as parents, really adopt a mindset of this is different. I can do these things. And that's really important.
Michael's website, Parenting Ideas, is a great online resource and covers a host of topics, including keeping kids safe online. And Joe, that feels particularly relevant now as we're trying to relax, I think, some of the screen time rules we had given the circumstances.
Well, I think that's really true. Let's be aware that we don't have the support network as parents that we normally do because it's just us in our homes with our kids. So if that means our children are on the screen a little bit more than we would normally allow, I think that's okay. I mean, you've got to be kind of kind to yourself as parents as well. And if your self-care means that they're on the screen, I say do it.
You've relaxed the rules a bit on the home front or not?
I never see her. She's always on the screen.
After the break, we catch up with an Aussie expat and the daughter of Etiquette Queen, June Daly-Watkins, who's been stranded far from home by the coronavirus lockdown.
But first, here's makeup expert Jade Kisnorbo with her tip for keeping up appearances.
Are you someone that have had lash extensions before?
Absolutely. I don't have them all the time, but particularly when there's a lot of events, I will tend to get them. But I find that my lashes can get quite damaged. My natural lashes get a bit upset.
Lashes, I think they make us feel really confident when they're long, when they're thick. However, the only thing coming from an artist background, I wouldn't necessarily tell you to go get lash extensions. I tell a lot of my clients steer away. This is simply due to them being heavy on your lash. They damage your lashes and they also change the shape of your eye sometimes and can be quite irritable.
You forget that your eyelashes are also hair.
100%. 100%. Just like your hair, just like your skin, where you would put a mask on, you really need to look after your lash health.
I had no idea there were lash serums. That's amazing.
Yeah, there are lash serums. Yeah. Well, it's hair health. It's about moisturising, getting that hair growth to come back. I love the Rimmel Lash Accelerator. It's really easy to apply and you can just pop it overnight, and you can also apply it to your brows. So a lot of people that overplucked in the 90s, our mums, McDonald's time. Yeah, everyone may have done it. You can apply that to the brows as well to stimulate that hair growth. Often with lash serums, they come quite small. What I like about this one in particular, there's quite a bit of product in there. So if it's easy to use, it's got a great applicator. So you basically just apply it to fresh, clean lashes, and nighttime is a really great time to do that because it is when you do all your repair and hopefully some regrowth.
I can't close my mouth and do my lashes at the same time.
A lot of people tell me that. Stick to a routine. Wow. I think this is the main thing and main message I would get through to anyone. Stick at it for at least 30 days to see any kind of change. So you've obviously woken up, you've wiped off any kind of accelerator serum that you've had on, and the first thing you would do is obviously curl your lashes and then go straight to adding the mascara. Typically the way that you'd apply and layer mascara is starting right at the root of your lash after you've curled it and just lightly feathering it to the bottom. And then the little ones in the middle, turn the brush that way as you just did.
Yeah.
And kind of just lightly,
Oh, that's how you do those inner ones.
Yeah, so change it depending on where you are in your eye. The movement needs to be different. And this mascara actually has serum infused in it also. So we've got our lashes on, but if you want the lashes to really stand out, a liquid liner really defines your actual eye shape, and the lashes are longer and are more noticeable. Rather than drawing it freehandly, just go straight in on the inner part and just dab it on the lash line in little movements.
Oh, dabs like that?
Yeah. And then as you get to the middle of the eye, start to place it and drag it almost like a paintbrush.
Like that?
Yep.
Oh, that's so cool.
Looks great.
Wow. And so you just let that dry?
Let it dry, but you're ready to go with your long lashes, a nice black liner, and just fresh skin.
Welcome back. Australia lost one of its favourite style and etiquette gurus, June Daly-Watkins, back in February this year. She was 92 and was an icon to many people, Jo.
Oh, June literally wrote the book of Manners for Moderns, which was the Bible for many young girls growing up. She was also a pioneering businesswoman who ran her own deportment school. Think walking with a book on your head. You've done that, Das, I'm sure. And never placing elbows on the dinner table. Yes, sit up straight.
I want to sit up straight immediately. June's youngest daughter, Lisa, is now based in Italy and flew back to Australia to be with her mum just as coronavirus sparked lockdown fears worldwide. Lisa is now one of thousands of expats and overseas travellers who are stranded here, unable to return home.
We caught up with Lisa to find out how she's coping.
I'm actually very blessed, very fortunate being in Australia. It's a safe country. It really is a beautiful, fresh, healthy, beautiful country. But wanting to get back home to my husband and my children.
So that's obviously very hard for your husband on his own because your children are not in Italy at the moment?
No, they're not either. My son is 19 years old and he's at university in the Netherlands, so he's at Rotterdam. And my daughter is 21 and she's at St Andrews in Scotland. So you're faced with two teenagers, more or less, who are lonely and a bit scared, isolated, but should I come home, Mum? Mum, should we go home? Should we go home? And I'm like, well, if you want to be on lockdown with your father, go home. And they were like, maybe I won't go home. But as a mother, I'm here in Australia going, you are much better off if you stay in Rotterdam, or you are much better off if you stay in that isolated village in northern Scotland. So it's a matter of weighing what your children are feeling, what they want to do, where they feel safe, but how psychologically they're dealing with isolation in those countries. And it's tricky being a mum long distance.
And do you have any sense of when you may be able to go home?
I'm Australian. I have a long-term residence there in Italy. But if I was to get sick, and this is something Australians don't understand, right, is that pretty much in Italy, if you're over 60 years old and you get the coronavirus, you will not be saved. There are not enough intubators to give you breath, help you breathe. There's not enough oxygen. The Italians have had to make the decision that if you're over 60 years old, we're not going to save you. We're only going to save the young. So I'm better off being here. So I feel sort of blessed that my mother, in her perfect timing, has given me a safe environment. My mother's always looked after me, and she's looked after me again with the timing of her death. She's made sure I'm in a safe country. But at the same time, I want to go home. It's my home, but it's really not worth the risk.
Well, let's hope Lisa can be reunited with her family soon and that things in Italy and around the world can resume to life as we knew it as soon as possible. A change of pace now, though, as we look at the skin affliction that affects most of us at some stage in our lives.
It's the dreaded acne, which hits between 85 and 100% of teenagers especially. It can cause major stress, permanent scarring and really impact people's self-esteem. But the good news is help is out there.
I think when I noticed the most of my breakouts, I was probably in year 9 or year 10. My sister had acne really badly And I used to always look at her and think, oh, I'm so lucky I don't have it. And then one day I just woke up and my whole cheek was just in lumps and yellow and red, and it was hurting to the point where I was crying. And I remember I just didn't want to go to school that day.
Anya's skin journey is not an unusual one. Up to 85% of Australians will develop acne at some point in their lives.
Acne occurs when the hair follicles in our pores become blocked with sebum, which is an oily substance that helps protect the skin. When dead skin cells mix with this blockage, that's when acne can form. There are 3 types which are particularly common. Firstly, you have your classic pimple, which looks just like a raised lump on the skin. There are also whiteheads, similar to your classic pimple. These occur when the hair follicle becomes clogged. And then we also have blackheads. In this case, the pore has filled with sebum and keratin, which is oxidised, and that creates the black appearance.
For most, acne is limited to the teen years. But for Anya, acne has continued into her 20s, and her mum Roxanne has suffered alongside her.
For Anya growing up, having the acne really affected her in that she wouldn't want to leave the house. So she was incredibly conscious, very self-conscious of the way she looked. So it has been difficult to stand on the sidelines almost and watch her go through this. It does hurt when you see your daughter suffering and you can't help.
The key to helping clear the skin is to pick a treatment product which will help to unblock the pores. Azelaic acid has a dual function, which makes it a great acne treatment. Firstly, it has antibacterial properties, which will help fight the bacteria on the skin. Secondly, it also helps to unblock the oil ducts. It also helps to dry out pimples and reduce redness. The best thing to do to keep your skin looking healthy is to start a good skincare routine. This consists of using a cleanser, which will help wash away pimple-causing bacteria, a moisturiser, and a sunscreen to help protect your skin from harmful UV rays.
So for my skincare routine now, I just mainly make sure I always wash my makeup off. So I've instilled that into myself and always a clean face. And then I always try to moisturise once or twice a day.
Really just mastering yourself.
And just as important as a skincare regime is managing the mental health effects of acne, for which Roxanne has some motherly advice.
I would say patience is probably the key to everything, because what they're experiencing might not occur over just 1 week. It might be years' worth of pain and suffering.
I was really lucky to have a really good support network. So my mum's been really supportive with me throughout the entire process. I started to feel I was actually beautiful. I started to be, you know what, it's not my acne that makes me as a person.
Welcome back. It's Mother's Day, and to celebrate, we're shining the spotlight on some inspirational women of all ages who are kicking goals in life. We're all surrounded by women who are incredibly inspirational. And Jo, you've met my beautiful wife, Beck. Fair to say I won the jackpot on that front, so I'm thankful every single day.
That's so nice.
She might argue that's been long overdue.
Oh, it's lovely. But there are so many great role models for today's younger generation. But they don't have to be world-famous political leaders or sports stars. A group of everyday and extraordinary women are using pedal power to propel them to live their best lives and inspire others to do the same.
How are you? When it first started up, it was women who hadn't ridden a bike since they left school. So, 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
Cycling has been a constant in Jacinta Costello's life. She fell in love with the sport in the 70s.
It's important for women to take part in any activity that they like. I just happen to like cycling. Hey, just make sure that, we're all nice and safe, look after each other, and of course, the most important is enjoy yourselves.
After a lifetime affair with riding, Jacinta applied for a job to teach a short course in cycling fundamentals. She was being paid to teach 16 women, but the response was overwhelming.
60 women replied. So I was absolutely shocked, but Cycling Australia was paying for 16. So I did the 16 and then thought, gosh, what am I going to do with the rest? I thought I'll have to teach them.
That was the start of her venture. Ladies, back on your bike. She teaches women how to ride, no matter their age.
So I taught a 75-year-old recently, which was pretty exciting.
or skill level.
Maybe they've never used gears before, so we show them how to use the gears. We show them how to get the drink bottle out and drink while they're going. You know, how to brake properly to make sure they're not going to just jam on their front brake and go straight over. Some pretty simple stuff, but if they're shown it, they really catch on well, and it's fantastic. Watch this car, passing again.
Riders are divided up into different groups depending on their experience, from those who have never ridden before to multi-day trekkers and everyone in between.
Caroline, keep it straight. Just look over your shoulder.
I never have been in a club or anything else with a group of women, and it was just amazing. It changed my attitude to so many things. It comes in and pushes your bike sideways. And depending on where the bush. But for me personally, I've really stepped outside my comfort zone. And I would recommend it to anybody. And you can always, if you've ridden a bike as a child, you can get back on it. You never forget how to ride a bike.
I probably suffered a bit of anxiety. I was separated and, I was looking to do something that I was going to enjoy for me instead of thinking about my family and work, which had been much of my life. I wanted to do something for me.
Watch yourself, take your own decision whether to change. I just see a lot of camaraderie, a lot of amazing improvement in their cycling. And I see the girls will often tell me, thanks so much, Jacinta, for starting this up, because they've really, really enjoyed the cycling, enjoyed the camaraderie, and that it has changed their lives, that now they've got a meaning to it, it's more fun, they feel there's something to get out of bed for, yeah.
Of course, since the virus, the ladies in Lycra can't hit the road in their peloton anymore, so they've kept the team spirit going by posting challenges online. And let me tell you, those ladies are up for it. They are not easy challenges. They've been using indoor trainers, they've been hitting the hills in pairs, and they are, by all account, very quick.
They are incredibly impressive, and from the photos they're posting, they're getting a lot of uptake too, Jo.
It's a great way to get some fresh air and exercise outdoors. Of course, cycling is one of the sports that's still allowed, and you can do it on your own.
Been enjoying getting out on the bike myself, Jo. It's been a lot of fun. That's our show for today. Head to our website, houseofwellness.com.au for more information, and tune into the House of Wellness radio show every Sunday with our own Joe Stanley and GQ. Thanks, as always, to our good friends at Chemist Warehouse. And until next time, remember to stay well, stay home and stay safe. Spoil your mums. Happy Mother's Day, Mum.
Yes, happy Mother's Day to my beautiful mum. We love you.
Sharing time.